I wouldn't be a YugiTuber if I didn't make a ban list prediction video every time it became even remotely close to the time we're supposed to get a new list. So, just fulfilling my civic duty here. Quickly just kind of going through this as a brief intro, it does say the next list will be no sooner or no earlier than September 1st. I do wonder whether or not we'll get one at all because, there's still been no competitive play and Konami doesn't really want to acknowledge the online meta as its own thing. So I am a bit nervous that even if we do get a list, it's going to be just peeling stuff off versus actually putting stuff, on the list to change the meta. You and I know that they've been playing online. There's been, LCS. There's been the Quarantine Series. There's been a lot of other different tournaments going on. But I am just, skeptical to think that they're actually going to do anything in terms of making any significant competitive changes. That being said, I figured I would throw my hat in the ring here, and so just kind of looking over the list here, there's a lot of stuff on here that I'd love to see come back for the record. We've discussed this in detail many times before. There's cards on here like Regeki, there's cards on here like Pantheism that could just easily be peeled off, and there may even be some ban cards that people don't want to have a conversation about that could come off as well. I would say Chicken Game for one, but at the risk of sort of triggering half my followers here, I'm just going to focus on what realistic moves I think could happen, assuming we do get a list. So with that being said, I'm going to start off. I got 7 here because I like to go with odd numbers. Cards that I think we may see move in some capacity. And this hill I will always die on is starting off with Harpy's Feather Duster. Japan has had this card for almost 2 years. For some reason, we just haven't been so fortunate as to get it back ourselves. I understand Lightning Storm came out, so they needed to sell Ignition Assault, whatever. But I really think it's about time we get Harpy's Feather Duster back, and I mean, what better time to test the type of impact that it would have than when there's no significant meta going on other than, remote duels or whatever we're doing online. If it looked like it was way too much, then it would be an easy excuse for them to put it back on the list whenever the next round of hits came about, which I assume would be in January. I don't know. I just think it's a really cool card, and existing at 1, I mean, we haven't had it in forever. It creates a lot of mind games and skill in terms of, like, well, do I want to set this? Do I want to throw my whole hand on the board? And obviously, with Lightning Storm existing, you have that, but this is a different card than Lightning Storm, right? I mean, for 1, it doesn't require you to control no face-up cards, and for 2, it's Harpy's Feather Duster. It's an iconic card, and it has a lot of viability. Like I said, Japan has had it for a while. We even have support cards for Harpies that actually, do things regarding searching this card. So there's many reasons to think that it could come back. I just don't know if this is going to be the list that they do it, because do they want to maybe make a few more sales? Do they want to put it in a product to push it when there's actual competitive play? I do not know. But Harpy's Feather Duster to 1 would be, it's sort of like my wishful thinking, but realistic move I could see at the same time. That's where I'm at on that one. Now, the next one, I don't expect to happen, but I think it definitely would be beneficial to anyone playing competitively, and that is Link Cross going to 0. So a lot of people have argued about whether or not needlefiber should be the one that gets hit, or Halq Fiber X, whatever, because of the dangerous combos that it enables. And I do think needlefiber is an insane card. It's an enabler. But the combo wouldn't be anywhere near as prevalent if you couldn't then go into Link Cross, get the free tokens, make synchro boards for using like 1 or 2 cards. And I don't think they're going to hit needlefiber. I think it supports a lot of decks, and while I definitely would be in favor of that hit, I think if they make any moves as far as banning something, it's a lot less impactful to hit a card like this that was part of Eternity Code and wasn't even part of the main goal to sell the set. It was just a good card in the set that had some value, whereas, needlefiber was sort of the main selling point of Dual Overload. And it comes back to the whole idea of whether or not they want to, like, risk frustrating customers who went out and bought this product, and then they banned the card before it even had a chance to be used in legitimate competitive play. With no YCSs and everything going on. So it's a weird line to walk, and I can't say I'd be envious to be the one making that decision. But if they hit something, I think you could get away with hitting Link Cross to 0, slowing down those combos, maybe easing some of the player unrest, and not drastically kind of like frustrating any of your competitive player base who actually went out and bought a lot of your product and stuff only to never be able to utilize it. So Link Cross is kind of wishful thinking. Again, I don't necessarily think there's going to be any actual bans on this list. I'll be pleasantly surprised and the first to admit I was wrong if it turns out that there is. But I don't expect any. So, if I do, throw in a loose prediction out there, Link Cross to 0 would be my ideal scenario. The next one seems pretty likely, to be honest with you. Tour Guide from the Underworld is currently at 2. I think it's going to come to 3. We saw Deep Sea Diva come off the last list. It hasn't done a ton. It's neat. It's got its own archetype. I mean, Mermail definitely benefits from it, and you could argue the merits of a card like that being at 3. Same with Tour Guide. Obviously, Burning Abyss can utilize it, and I think even certain, you know, whether different, like, BA Phantom Knight decks and other Fiend archetypes, even Infernity. There's new Infernity support that's coming out in Phantom Rage, I believe, so, you know, ups and downs on whether or not bringing this back would actually be a good idea in terms of what type of balancing factors it has. But Tour Guide's moved around a lot. It's at 2. I could see them just kind of peeling it off, moving it back to 3. That's an easy move. You don't have to really justify too much in terms of the actual meta in order to be able to make that change. So Tour Guide to 3, don't have too much to say about it. It would be a neat little boost to BA, and it would definitely help a few other decks, but I don't see too much harm in it. And the normal summon obviously is crucial in a lot of decks, so if you're devoting your normal summon play to this and then it gets stopped, it's, you know, that puts you in a position where you have to then either, you know, open a hand trap to make sure it resolves, or be able to play around an impermanence, be able to play through things. I don't see this card being, you know, dramatically harmful at any position on the list, really. So I'm in support of it going to 3. I think that's a likely move, actually. If we do get a list, I could easily see this one coming off. Next one is a little bit of an out there pick, but I mean, obviously you guys can talk about things like Machiera, which is probably going to come off the list because it's getting errata and reprinted in the Raw Duelist pack, so it's pretty basic. I didn't even really want to bother acknowledging that. I think we all kind of expect that that's going to happen. Reasoning is a neat card. It definitely is really fun in Cosmo, which is a deck I've been dabbling around with a bit lately. It's been on the list for a while. It was with Monster Gate. Monster Gate finally peeled off, and I think a lot of the concern from this card will come from Infernoid and what type of boost it might give that deck, but I don't think giving that deck a boost is necessarily a bad thing either. Obviously, Reasoning does, you know, offer you some really advantageous situations, especially if you're playing a deck where you don't mind milling stuff, but I think it's kind of a dark horse pick that could move without being too problematic. So I say Reasoning to 2. I think they'd probably peel it back to 2 and then move it to 3 if it didn't do anything. That's assuming, again, that they decide to move it at all. Alright, next one I know a lot of people are going to be kind of fringe with, and I'm also on the fringe with this, but again, I'm just trying to look at like some picks that Konami might make, and with Infernity support coming out in Phantom Rage, I do think we might see movement on Infernity Archfiend. Now, let me just start out by saying this card is insanely good and borderline broken within the deck. The fact that you can loop it, the fact that it's not a hard once per turn terrifies me, especially because of like barrier combos and just how easy this deck is with, like, if Infernity were to get their like full slate of support back, it would be very, very easy for that deck to just become a dominant force again, because Barrier is a card, they now have access to links. The deck was still doing things when Firewall was around, so it's not as though it's unheard of for Infernity to have some degenerate strategies and see competitive play. But with the support coming out, with that being an opportunity to push the set, and with there being no list between, so assuming we get this list September 1st, there's not going to be another list for the rest of the year, most likely, and Phantom Rage comes out in October. So assuming that they want to, you know, push that set, maybe get some extra people excited about it, maybe hype some of the Infernity stuff as a selling point, especially for a deck that has been, you know, notoriously competitive within the competitive scene for years, Archfiend at 2, while it does scare me, seems like a move they might make. Again, not advocating for it, but we're trying to look at it just from a perspective of moves we could realistically see. So, yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility that Archfiend could come off. Again, not in favor of it, but I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? I don't know. Anybody think that, like, Infernity would just, with just the one Archfiend and nothing else moving, would be insane? I have my fears, but maybe I'm just kind of overthinking it a little bit. So let me know what you guys think down below. And the last one is Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche. So I had to put one out there that's, you know, kind of a bit much. This card's banned, those of you who don't know. It's a really good card. One of the best, like, links in the game, just in terms of the engine that it creates by being able to, you know, mill Fogblade, by being able to remove something and then also get a search. So it's just a neat card in that respect, because it essentially, I'm sorry, I said mill Fogblade. What I meant was mill Silent Boot. So you mill the card, banish to search, and then you also get to set the Fogblade. So you're generating a lot of advantage off a card that's relatively easy to make. But Phantom Knights have support coming out in Phantom Rage as well. And what better way to, you know, to give that deck some hype than to give them, you know, a powerful card like this. I just think that this card is also abusable in decks that aren't Phantom Knights, and that's where you kind of have to walk that line. Does it come off the list to 1? Does it not come off the list? Konami unbanning a card to push a set or sell a set is not unheard of. It's happened before. It'll happen again. I think you could take the gamble on this. I'd like it back, you know, just as a player. I enjoy the card. I think it's a lot of fun, but I'm not pretending it's not kind of a degenerate card as well for the amount of things it can actually do to set you up an advantage with very small, you know, investment. 3 Dark Monsters or 2+ Dark Monsters is not a hard condition to pull off. So if we were to see some kind of radical unbanning move, I think Rusty Bardiche is a potential hit just to move future product. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. So basically just going over all 7 of the moves I suggested very quickly. So Bardiche to 1, Link Cross to 0. Don't expect this to happen, by the way, but it'd be a good move. Harpy's Feather Duster to 1. Every list, every time I make a Banlist prediction video, I will put this card on my predictions until we actually get it back. Reasoning to 2. Infernity Archfiend to 2. Still scared on this one. Tour Guide from the Underworld to 3 is very likely as well. And the last one, Totally Awesome. Now, this card was limited for seemingly no reason. It's a great card, don't get me wrong, but frogs weren't doing much of anything. I don't know if they were worried about Bahamut Shark, but Totally Awesome is a really good card that doesn't deserve to be on the list, in my opinion. The only things I really could think about it being there is because of, like, combos with Dragmatica and Necros, where, like, you're sending it to the grave from the extra deck, searching a water monster, and it's super loopable. So maybe they don't want to move it, but I just think that it's kind of an unfortunate hit to decks that aren't that could actually utilize this card as a pseudo-boss monster, given the popularity of frogs and just those water decks in general. So I think Toad could come back, but I almost wonder if, you know, given how recently they hit it, it's not going to be, you know, it's not going to be something that happens. So let me know what you guys think. Those are all 7. Definitely excited if we get a ban list, because that would be great. We haven't had, you know, any type of real shakeup to the meta since Dual Overlord came out with that last list they had. I'm excited about it. Obviously, we'll continue to monitor it here, and if we get one, I will definitely put a video out kind of talking about it. I'm sure other YouTubers will as well. You probably see before me, but it'll be there. You guys have, you know, somewhere to go, so definitely make sure you're subscribed if you're not already, just so that you can kind of stay tuned. And also let me know what other kind of videos you guys want to see. I'm trying to incorporate some more discussion content and everything, but obviously it's really up to what the viewers want, and we'll have some more openings coming soon once the Mega Tins come out. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time right here at Love Shack. Bye-bye.